3 a.m.
And we are
Cody.
here.
We threw it together, Matt. Chicago traffic messed me up. I was connected to the street Wi-Fi router, and right as we begin the show, my cat Sunshine has launched a full-scale desk invasion of me. So
That's a good kitty. And you were connected to the shitty street router, which was not helpful. But yeah, we're gonna try to do every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Coney time, around here. Talk about the Bengals. And you don't want to talk about the Reds anymore, but we'll throw some Bearcats in there, possibly some FC Cincinnati.
No, the Reds need to be earned. They need to earn that time, and I need to see a lot.
We could do like a monthly or like a quarterly recap of them. Just be like, and they are still not going to the World Series. And moving on in other Cincinnati sports.
I think the next Red story I want to talk about is the Castellinis moving to sell. So if that's this offseason or in 2035, I'll be happy to talk about them then. I'll be happy to.
In 2035. All right, we'll schedule a live pod for then.
I love baseball. You know what makes me so angry, Matt? This is not a Red segment. Well, you know what makes me so angry is I go to these baseball games and I watch the Little League World Series and I go, wow, I actually really like baseball. And I just hate it because of this thing we're not supposed to talk about. So, that just makes it a little more frustrating, is actually enjoying baseball, the Little League World Series and late season, other teams. And then here in Chicago, a lot of great baseball to watch. Wrigley Field's great. So,
well, I mean, you had Pujols making history against the Reds. So you get the Reds on the opposite end of another highlight reel, just like how the Bengals used to be. So, that's great.
I saw Pujols at Wrigley Field, and there was a guy in a Cubs jersey standing up and going, "Who won out, Albert? Who won out?" And all the Cubs fans were turning around looking at him like, "Are you out of your mind, man? Like, he's not at 699. He ain't breaking it here at Wrigley. Like, he can calm down." So, anyway, it's been a good preseason though. Our Bengals juices are flowing. I'm so jacked up. I can't wait for it.
Oh yeah, gonna be great. Joe looks like he's back to close to 100%.
He's gained a lot of weight.
I mean, the good weight, not the bad weight.
No, great weight. Yeah, I mean, I'm super impressed. I shouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised, but I'm impressed again, because to gain that much muscle in this stretch of time, from looking like actually Macaulay Culkin to looking like Joe Burrow again, it's been impressive.
It's tough after an appendectomy. You can't eat anything, so he probably just had everything ready to go. Okay, when I'm done with my milkshakes and I can actually take something solid, here's all my protein. Which I am doing a no meat diet all week, and I'm on day 2, and I'm already dying.
Yeah, you're probably depressed as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently it's like Cincinnati Wing Week, so I keep getting all of those updates, and my buddy was like, "Hey, you want me to come over with some wings? I'm gonna pick up some wings." I was like, "No, I'm just gonna eat this cheese and bread because that's the only thing I can eat."
Hey, bring the celery. Order extra.
Yeah,
just snack on that. Dip it in the ranch. It'll feel like wings.
Big old thing of barbecue sauce and ranch and just eating celery.
Yeah,
that might hold me over. That's not bad.
Yeah, the only time I ate that celery was when I was really overweight and I just needed to keep eating, and that was the only thing left. So just hammered the celery. But if you end up starting with the celery, you're going pretty far. Which, this Bengals roster, there wasn't a lot of celery or bad news on it. This was a very non-dramatic 53-man roster release. I mean, I didn't see really any surprises other than Mike Thomas being caught, but then you read a little further and it's just roster reconfiguration, and Mike Thomas is still most likely the wide receiver 4 on this team. It just needs to be ironed out. Alan George making the roster, perhaps a little surprising, but you knew they needed corner depth. Huber making it. It was much more of a surprise on Twitter than I thought it would be, because Chrisman, to me, needed to win the competition, and he might have won it, but he didn't win it. And to take the job from a guy that's about to break the single games played record and was the holder for the 3 most important kicks in Bengals history in Week 17, the divisional round of the AFC Championship game. I mean, Kevin Huber is on all the billboards around the stadium right now because he was the holder for all these walk-off field goals. Yep. So it was going to be a difficult...
Is that going to be the main reason? His punts aren't as good as they used to be, but he's the holder.
I think that is a big reason because the last thing you want is to be week 18. You're playing week 17 Monday Night Football. You're playing for the 1 seed, and that's the day that Drew Chrisman decides that he gets a little jittery, and the ball slips through his fingertips on a hold, on a walk-off field goal attempt. And that's exact last thing you want. It's a mojo thing too with Evan. So like, let's say that you change the holder out, and the first kick of the year is wide right. It's tough for any human to look at themselves. They're going to look down at Drew or Kevin, and it definitely wouldn't have been Drew Chrisman's fault. It's more circumstantial. He is the better punter, but he is not so much of a better punter that it outweighs the risk that you get from just making a change. Same thing with the long snapper. Like, I think Clark Harris won the job, probably just straight up won the job. But again, why would you make a change there? Even if Adamitis is a better snapper, although God, you find me a snapping expert that can tell the difference, right, between great snappers and good snappers. But there's just, you don't want change there as a head coach, as a culture. Plus, Kevin Huber was voted a captain last year, so that's a big step to replace him, and he needed to lose the competition outright.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that he could do that in his sleep. He could do those holds in his sleep. I mean, McPherson obviously has no problem with him. I think this will be his final year, and hopefully his punt. I mean, if they don't punt at all, wonderful. Don't even need to use him. He can just hang out there until he needs to take a hold. But
so you want the Kevin Huber stats? I got some Kevin Huber stats if you want.
Oh, I would love Kevin Huber stats.
Last season was his worst punting average.
I could believe that.
Yeah. And it was around bottom half of the league. It wasn't like terrible worse in the league, and it was respectable, but it was bottom half of the league. But it was the least amount he's ever punted in his career by a long shot. So he punted less than he ever has, which is a great thing. We know why. A lot of Joe Burrow first downs. A lot of Evan McPherson long field goals, saving us from those punts from the 50. But the worrying part was his playoff punting average, which fell all the way down to 42 yards a punt, which if you extrapolated that over the season, like if you took 42 yards a punt and put it in the standings of average punts for the regular season, that would be dead last. So like in the playoffs, Kevin Huber was a bad punter in terms of punting average. Now, punting average has a lot of factors into it, and we'd have to go down and break it punt by punt. He didn't have any major shanks, but I do remember one off the side of the foot wasn't a great punt, changed the field position shanks. So he cannot be that again. And that's what this coaching staff is banking on, is that playoff run, it was circumstantial. It was too small of a sample size to judge on. And now that he's been pushed through the fire of a competition, a real competition, I think Kevin will end up being a better punter because of this. I think it makes the team better because everybody goes through competition, even the 38-year-old punter that you're super secure in, the guy from Cincinnati, so I love the fact they put him through the competition, and I love the decision of bringing Kevin Huber back because it's the only one without risk. Drew Chrisman brings with it inherent risk just because there is an unknown factor, and you don't want to deal with unknowns when you have so much known on this team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the other ones that jumped out to me, Thad Moss obviously was getting dragged for that low block. And Kendrick Pryor looked great. Him and Jake Browning looked great in preseason. But, I mean, if you got to cut it down to 53, you got to decide where you need your depth.
Yeah, what's interesting I wanted to ask you is they decided this year to keep Traveon Williams as the fourth running back. And I think they're getting a little concerned with Chris Evans' ability as a hand it off. Like, this is a 3 down, I can hand it off to him back. Because Traveon is a little bit better in between the tackles. He doesn't bounce it out as much more. He's a lot more straightforward runner, takes the yards that you give him. Where Chris Evans is the best receiver on the roster. I think he's a better receiver than Joe Mixon. And he's the most explosive out of all of them. So I think that they decided to keep 4 running backs because Evans can line up out wide and be a de facto wide receiver. So you can kind of take care of that 6 wide receiver role. And you don't really trust his ability that, hey, if Joe Mixon gets down, can we give Chris Evans 22 carries a game and be that bell cow? So
I hope that they unleash him this year. We've seen some of those plays where he can get outside and make people miss. And if you have Jamar Chase, all of these wide receivers, and then you have Chris Evans. Like, it's unguardable. There's no possible chance you can guard all of these people. So, I mean, I think after Zach Taylor realized what he can really do with this offense when it's healthy, and that's without an offensive line, now going into this season, he might just be able to have fun with it. And hopefully we just have a smiling Zach Taylor going, yeah, that play worked.
Yeah,
after the game.
This is a worry of mine, is that there's so many options of where to go. I think this needs to be a bread and butter team. Jamar Chase needs to have 180 targets. I mean, his target share needs to go through the roof. It needs to be such a Jamar Chase centric team, whether it's handing it off out of the backfield, quick screens, dumps, slants. The ball should be in Jamar's hands constantly. And off of that, you will create a lot of explosive offense. You force teams to triple team the guy because he does look completely and utterly unstoppable. He looked unstoppable at times last year. He looked like he was going to ascend to be the best receiver in the league. I think as it sits right now, watching these guys in camp, and it might be me talking myself into it, Matt, but I really do believe that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL and Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And they play on the same team. They're both not even in their prime yet, and they were best friends and roommates in college.
We talked about that going into last season.
Yeah.
Okay, if they get Jamar Chase, like, they could have that connection where they're basically just like reading each other's thoughts, and it's like, oh, he knows when he kind of makes this move, and Joe can hit him on the run, and they already have that chemistry. They already have that history of going through practice and going through games and understanding what works and what, how to accentuate each other's best. And we saw that this season, and Joe Burrow had zero time to throw. And a lot of that was, just throwing it up or Jamar going after the catch. And if Joe Burrow actually gets time with this offensive line, like, I don't know who can guard Jamar Chase one-on-one for 7 seconds.
Nobody.
For 5 to 7, like, if you give him over 5 seconds, 7 seconds, like, it is over, because Joe Burrow can get out of the pocket, and then Jamar Chase is just gone. It's just open field.
Well, I think that you can't guard him one-on-one with 3 seconds. I think that I heard this great story of Randy Moss and Bill Belichick. They were it was Randy Moss when he was in the NFL 100, and I just heard this story the other day. And Randy comes into the facility, and Bill comes over to him, and he's talking about offense. He's like, all right, when we see cover one, with one safety high, Randy says, stop. You are never seeing cover one again. You're only seeing cover 2. That's the only thing that you will see. I am now on the field. That is what the amount of single high that teams tried against the Bengals, because every defensive coordinator, they're a tough guy somewhere in there. And no matter how many times they watch it on tape of guys getting bombs dropped on their head every week, every time you go single high safety, not us, we can cover it. We'll surprise them. We'll do it in a weird way. And every time, single high safety, it was T. Higgins or Jamar Chase right down the sideline, no safety help, big 45, 50-yard gain. That is over. I hope it's over. If people come out this year and play single high again, it's like the NFL is trying to let the Bengals win. Like, you cannot play single high safety against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. They will torch you for about a 120 passer rating, and you'll be done and dusted. And Matt, what you talked about with the second reaction plays, I don't know. We tweeted it out from the 3 a.m. Coney. We tweeted out this great article where they went through and they had evaluators rank the different skill sets of quarterbacks. Did you see this, Matt?
I did not.
So what they did was they basically took all these quarterbackial skills, right?
Yep.
Like arm strength, accuracy, touch, second reaction time. All these things that we judge quarterbacks off of, because so many fans out there, they just base it off of arm strength and arm strength only. Well, Joe Burrow ranked only 9th in second reaction time. He was unranked in arm strength. I think we can believe that. I don't know if he'd be top 10 in it. Accuracy 3rd, touch 4th, mechanics 3rd, field vision 4th, decision-making 5th, competitiveness 5th, toughness 5th, pocket presence 4th, scrambling unranked, design run unranked, and second reaction plays. He was ranked 9th. The worst rating in that was second reaction plays. So that's where it breaks down a little bit. They shuffle and go. So think the CJ Uzama play against Jacksonville. Think the Jamar Chase touchdown in the back of the end zone against San Francisco. Those are second reaction plays. The reason he's only ranked 9th in that, despite showcasing such special plays throughout the season, is because he had no time to do it. You do not get second reaction plays if your first reaction is you're under pressure in less than 2 seconds. Wait until, as Matt said,
reaction is panic.
Wait until the second reaction is 4.5, 5 seconds into the play. I mean, that there's so much more that it's just going to be a pick apart. It's going to be a lot of problems for defenses with this wide receiving core. And the thing about playing too high safety, Matt, is you can't stop the run as well. You can't stop the run as well. So I don't know what teams are going to do. A buddy of mine, my place of work, he's a wide receiver from Central Michigan, and we were just talking schematics, and we're going through it. I'm like, what defense are you going to play? What are you going to do? Who are you going to guard? Like, I hope Joe Burrow throws interceptions on 3 straight passes like he did against the Bears, where he's hobbled and he can't run around, or his pinky swollen like it was against the Chargers. Like, the Bengals offense, if it clicks and the offensive line works, and it's that explosive, Matt, and it's what we envision it, only acts of God can stop them. Only acts of God can stop them. And that is the God-honest truth when you just look at the schematics of it. So if this team is is firing on all cylinders by week 1, which I'm worried that they might not be because of the offseason rest and not a lot of time together, when this team is rolling...
Who decided the very first game was going to be against the Steelers?
The NFL.
That's like having the Bearcats Xavier Crosstown shootout be like the 4th.
Oh,
game.
Come on. We have higher, as Joe Burrow said, we have higher aspirations than beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am not. This is the thing, is that Steelers week used to be like a huge thing for me, like a mental hurdle to overcome. And that is so far gone from my brain because of that 41-3. I was sitting there like, I don't care about this rivalry nearly as much as I used to. I mean, it just disappeared in my head.
They have to win. They have to continually win for me to be able to overlook and look past the Pittsburgh Steelers after the decade of abuse that we just took.
But no, so they moved from they're my bully to now we're equals, and I respect them. I always say I have more respect for the Steelers organization than any organization in professional sports, because they have a similar financial structure to the Cincinnati Bengals in terms of not a lot of wealth up top, and they've got 6 Super Bowls. So we talk about how hard it is for Mike Brown to operate the Bengals all the time, and it is hard for Mike Brown in Cincinnati to run a profitable and competitive football team at the same time. It's a lot easier nowadays with the new media deals. But the Steelers are a family-run operation, same as the Bengals, and they have been able to achieve unprecedented success in a media market that's a similar size to Cincinnati. So I have a ton of respect for the Steelers organization, and yes, they certainly can beat the Bengals week 1. I think I am more worried about the Steelers week 1 than 95% of Bengals fans, because I think that defense is really good, and I don't think this team is going to be firing on all cylinders when the ball kicks off, because it's a lot of rust to shake off. It's a lot of weirdness that's going on in training camp. I'm genuinely worried. But the Steelers are going to have to beat us 5 times in a row for me to ever feel the way I used to feel. Because, Matt, it wasn't just that we didn't ever beat them. It's that when we beat them, it was Brian Leonard putting his hand on the turf on 4th down and launching himself forward, and Chad catching it in the front end of the end zone and barely winning. Or winning because Big Ben throws a dumb pick and Andy gets lucky on a tip ball, and then somehow Mike Nugent makes a kick. Like, all these things that used to happen to get one goddamn win against the Steelers was all erased with 41-3.
For 5 plays in a row. There's 20 seconds left. Nope. It doesn't matter. We're up by 3 touchdowns. The game is not over yet.
Yeah, that's gone now. So, like, if we're up 21-0 against the Steelers, I'm going to kick my feet up and relax. Like, I'm going to be fine. You know, like, I just, the ominousness, which is not a word, the ominosity, that's not a word either. The Steelers logo sitting over your bedroom in imaginary at night, haunting you on Steelers week, is gone. And it's totally gone. 41-3 changes that, because even if they sweep us this year, I'll look back at last year and remember picking up my future wife at the time and spinning around because Mike Hilton's running to the end zone. We're up 41-3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're like that. That was just such a transcendent moment for me. That was honestly better than any of the playoff. Like, because I wasn't unlucky, I wasn't at any of the playoff games. For me, that's the moment I'll remember from that season because of how much the Steelers meant to me as a rivalry, how many people in my life had been Steelers fans, how many people that were horrible to me in my life had been Steelers fans. Like, that specific game was so I'm not worried, no Steelers logo, whatever. It's week 1. I want to win because we're 1-0. It's not no Steelers week, and I'm not overhyping it with the rivalry, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna get them, they don't really know who their quarterback is. Kenny Pickett's debut might be fun. I don't know. Week 1. I
mean, would you start Kenny Pickett in fantasy against the Bengals defense week 1?
I have the Bengals defense.
If they win, I will be surprised. Oh, you do? Yeah, I'm doing my last draft this weekend, and we'll see.
We got to remember though that football things can happen. So block punt, kickoff return for a touchdown, bounces off of a lineman's helmet and then into the hands of a linebacker, returns it for 6. Like, football's going to happen. Okay, there's going to be drives killed because some BS. And so we got to be ready for that, because this team feels so perfect that the minute they don't play perfect, we might panic. And I don't want anybody to do that. Because we got to remember how hard football is, like, and how difficult this really is to do. Because now we're here. Now it's not dreams. It's, hey, we got a matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers coming week 1.
And this is coming off going to the Super Bowl. So a new disappointment is not going to be missing the playoffs. It's going to be not getting close to how they did last year when we were saying that this team is now improved.
Yeah. To me, I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl anymore. I'm so tired of this. The Super Bowl does not matter anymore. It is gone. Like, it needs to be gone. It needs to be gone out of the players' minds. This is a brand new thing. 2021 was 2021. 2022 is 2022. Now, if we would have won the Super Bowl, I'd be saying the same thing. It's not about the Super Bowl anymore. We got to win this one. I do worry a little bit that the fan base is tied up with it. Like, there's so much that needs to happen before we're even half talking about. And if we put the whole season on it, God forbid we play the Rams in the Super Bowl again. This city will be unbearable, full of nerves.
They're just going to show that picture of Aaron Donald holding both Bengals helmets. That's going to be the promo. And they're back again.
But that's like, there's no reason to have that energy at all about this team. You know, I just think that we asked for one goddamn playoff win for so long that if we switch it up now and talk the whole season about winning the Super Bowl, which even me, and you know how optimistic I am, somebody asked me, what do you say the percentage chance the Bengals win the Super Bowl is this year? I'd say like 21. Like 21%. I'd put it right there. Like, that is super high percentages to win the Super Bowl. I am super optimistic about the Bengals. And I'm still only willing to put it at 21% because, I mean, we just saw with Joe Burrow's appendectomy. What if that happens 3 days before the goddamn Super Bowl? Now he lost the game.
He can't lose another appendix. He's fine.
No, I know.
You only get the one.
Weird medical situation happens. Like, you really do not know. It's very hard to win Super Bowls. Yeah. Very hard.
All right. I hear craziness upstairs, so I'm going to go, but I'm going to leave with this. Bengals going to the Super Bowl. We knew that there were going to be some bandwagon fans, but it has been wild to see this new on one end, you have all of these new fans saying go Bengals, like there wasn't just a 3-decade playoff drought that they had to suffer through. They're just like, oh, sweet. All right, Bengals went to the Super Bowl. I like orange and black and Tigers and Joe Burrow. Go Bengals. And then you still have the national media and other fans of other teams that are saying that was a fluke, that was overrated. And so to have the Bengals be somewhere in the middle where we're calling them improved, but we have bandwagon fans that are coming along, and then we still have now angry opposing fans and other media heads who are saying that, you know, the Bengals aren't going to make the Super Bowl again, this is going to be a very interesting year.
You know what they sound like? They sound like the guy at the high school reunion who's the quarterback in high school, and he let himself go because he started selling insurance, and it's the 10-year reunion. And the kid they always used to pick on, who was tiny, and they bullied around and had a late growth spurt when he was 18, and he really loves creatine and going to the gym. And now this guy, 10 years later, is stacked up and is the coolest guy at your reunion. That douchebag's going to be over there going, oh, yeah, remember when you did this? Remember you poverty. Like, I'm sorry that the Bengals are cooler than your team now. Our quarterback is cooler than yours. Our wide receiver, I got kids in the city of Chicago who goddamn, half the kids in this city didn't even know who the Bengals were last summer. I wore the hat all the time. They're like, who? What's that? Is that a weird Bears logo? Like, no,
the stripy bees. The stripy bees.
The stripy bees, right? And I got kids. I see random kids. I've been to high school games. I've been to summer pickup games. I have seen the gritty hits on every court in America. And I have seen when people see this hat at Wrigley Field, they go, oh, Joe Burrow, Joey B, baby. Bengals going to be awesome this year. And that doesn't happen for your team. That doesn't happen for your Ravens. That doesn't happen for your Browns. And it never will happen because you won't have two players this cool. Like, I'm sorry that we lucked into it or whatever, but like, it's just the coolness factor of the two best players of the team. They wear grills, they dance on people, they're confident, they're awesome, they're amazing, and they make this logo 50 times cooler, and I'm sorry about it.
There you go.
Anyway, that's where we can
jealousy. Doesn't look good on you, other children of other sports teams. Yeah,
don't be so jealous. I mean, we honestly, like, we weren't that bad. We kind of shut up and went away when we were bad. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah,
everybody,
kind of.
Browns fans have been saying they're going to be great for 30 years, and everybody hopped onto their bandwagon.
I mean, we could do a whole fucking show on the Brown situation.
Oh,
right
I
now.
cannot.
But you know what? I'm gonna leave, and if you decide, you can do your rant right now. So whatever you want to rant about, it can be the Browns. But
okay,
I'm out.
I'll let you go, Matt. Have fun with your buddies. See, Matt, he doesn't like when I keep ranting, but I just keep ranting. No, but the final point I have for everybody out there. Thank you so much for watching the show. Don't let it get to you. It is rooted in jealousy. It's not football analysis or anything like that. It is rooted in jealousy, or it is rooted in prior takes. So you got to remember when you're listening to a lot of these national media people, and I, as a media person, know their thought processes. A lot of people out there care more about their takes than being right. And especially if their takes get stirred up on Twitter. I know this because I've held on to takes too long. A la Eli Manning shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I had to build an entire quarterback spreadsheet to prove myself wrong before I changed my mind about that. So a guy like Steven Ruiz, who fought tooth and nail with Bengals fans on Twitter for hours, characters, tweets on tweets on tweets on tweets, that Joe Burrow is baby arm Burrow, not good enough, not going to be elite. He is going to hold on to that until Joe Burrow rips that take out of his hands, chews it up, and spits it in his face. And that's going to be for a lot of people that have taken hardline stances against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, or who have taken hardline stances with other AFC teams. So I think Nick Wright is ready to jump into the Bengals bandwagon, but he can't because he's so hooked himself to the Chiefs and Mahomes that he can't say that the Bengals are the new power because they beat the Chiefs twice, they were in the Super Bowl, and they're only getting better. So if they're really the new power, then how on earth are you going to beat them? It's just hard for people's past assumptions of the NFL before the playoff run to line up with the reality of what the Bengals are. So when those two things aren't aligned in people's heads, the takes go awry. The odds go awry. Everything goes awry. And this all goes back to, and I have to credit, this is an idea I had in my own head, but I do have to credit, I think Zim Huday said it on Twitter, about they didn't watch the Bengals last year, right? They didn't watch the Cincinnati Bengals. They did not watch. There was one primetime game. And I'll tell you this, people that cover the NFL nationally, who make six figures to cover the league, do not watch every snap of every game. They do not. If they don't have to write a story about it, they're not going to watch it. Very, 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 very few true film junkies in media. There's a lot of pretenders, right? There's a lot of pretenders. And so when there's only one primetime game for a team, and in that primetime game, they trailed 14-0 to the team that ended up having the number 1 overall pick, it's going to be hard for people to change their mind, especially when the Bengals they saw in the playoffs, we all know that wasn't even the best version of the team. That was a completely broken O-line, not even just a shoddy one. That was an injured Joe Burrow when he'd hurt his knee and pinky against the Chargers. That was a Bengals defense that had a Logan Wilson dealing with a labrum injury. And it wasn't perfect. And it wasn't the best version of the Bengals that played last year, and they're only getting better. And a lot of people didn't see that, so don't get worked up, or try not to. I get worked up, but that's kind of the point of the show. Try not to get worked up about it all the time too often, because you have to understand that if people are throwing criticisms at the Bengals that are over the top, it is not coming from a place of football analysis. It's coming from a place of holding on to past takes, holding on to preconceived ideas of the NFL that it's hard to erase over a 3-game stretch in January and February, or they're just jealous because they are really cool. They are really engaging. They're gaining more fans than any fan base in the NFL. They are more popular randomly, even though they're the Bengals, than a lot of people in the NFL. And I told you this a long time ago, one of our very first Conies, when they drafted Joe Burrow, I told everybody they're going to hate him. He will be hated. And this is the last year, because enjoy this little ride, because it will become a very clear line in the sand after this year with Joe Burrow. Because he is going to light this league on absolute fire. And it is going to be a path of death, destruction, points, and cocky post-game press conferences. And once he's run through the league like that, and God forbid if he wins a Super Bowl, there's not going to be a lot of love for Joe Burrow. Because it's only cool when it's your guy the first time, or it's the first time around and you're seeing it from afar, and it's this pesky underdog. But when it's Joe Burrow year after year, just surgically dissecting every defense in the NFL, being this modern version of Tom Brady with shades of Joe Montana, and I've heard shades of Jim Kelly, and then shades of Peyton Manning, and shades of everybody. And when it's just year after year after year, when he isn't the best athlete at the quarterback position, when he doesn't have the strongest arm, when he doesn't have the fastest legs, that's going to get under people's skin all the time. It's going to anger people. And we're just now seeing the first throes of it. So just get ready for more. Because if they hate you, that's a good thing. That means they're scared. They're very, very scared. Remember when you were a kid how much you hated the Steelers? It's because you were scared they were going to ruin your season. And now the same thing is happening for teams with the Cincinnati Bengals. We are interrupting the Lamar Jackson dynasty. We are giving the Steelers somebody that they can't just walk over anymore. We took the Browns' underdog thunder and did the thing they've been saying for the last 4 years they wanted to do. So when you do those things, people aren't going to like you, and they aren't going to like your quarterback, and they're going to try to find every way to discount what happened. So those are the reasons for it. Just enjoy it, man. Smile. I walk around the city. People know who this is. This is incredible. From one summer to the next. What's that on your hat? Oh, it's the Bengals. Oh, is that the football team? Yeah, it's the football team. Now I walk around. If I put Bengals stuff on, I will be saying Who Dey when I walk out the door, and I live in Chicago. I will be saying Who Dey. Whether it's from another Bengals fan or a random Chicago person who likes the Bengals, they know. There's, I think, 4 or 5 Bengals bars that did not exist when I moved here. All of a sudden, it's a Bengals bar. There's a bar that there was a Broncos Steelers tied at the top. Bengals 1 vote behind. We're in Chicago. This is not an international brand. So it's growing. It's awesome. And we can't wait for the season. More shows coming your way this week as we move into the season. We'll try to get post-game recaps. I'll try to do my best around my partying portion of watching the game, because it's also my one-off day from other responsibilities and broadcasting. So I try to bring this show to you, bring good analysis that I have from the couch, and Matt and I just try to have fun. So subscribe for us, please. It really helps the show. like, comment, say hi, what's up, who day, whatever you want to give. We're happy to hear it. And we thank you so much for following the show and liking it and doing everything that you do. For Matt Roden, I'm Lucas Moore. We'll see you guys next time.